Welcome. Oops, turn that down. It's called Storyphile. And we invite many of the wonderful artists of LA to come and join us. And we've got a great bunch here tonight to perform and a wonderful audience. So we're happy to have you here. I usually start things off, so I'm going to start it off. Some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away in the morning to that home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'm laying on a fold-out couch in a small one-bedroom house in Wairika, California. It's 6 a.m. I'm 6 years old, 1947. My two brothers are still sleeping in the bedroom we share with our parents. They share with our parents. I think my daddy just shut the door as he left for work. It's all dark here in the living room where I'm sitting, but looking back at the kitchen, it's all lit up like a little stage. There's a table with a toaster on it and a couple of chairs, a radio playing on the shelf above the refrigerator, and over at the sink, doing the dishes, wearing a fluffy, shouldered white apron, is our beautiful mom. It's freezing cold outside, but it sure is warm and cozy in here. And the familiar aroma of bacon and eggs, coffee and toast just fills the whole room. And I just cozy down into that little bed and listen to the radio playing. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. Grandpa and Sandy and Lindy, our little girl cousins. We were all little boys. No more stringing popcorn and throwing angel hair, stockings hung with care. No more sea of presents under the tree, none for me. No more presents. Christmas is now a pagan holiday, or even worse, a Catholic holiday. Instead, we go to church twice on Sunday and once in the middle of the week. Sometimes we go 30 nights in a row, up and down the San Joaquin and the Sacramento, going to those one-cup churches of Christ. Our whole life revolves around Jesus and around Judgment Day, when the trumpet of the Lord shall sound, and time shall be no more, and the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair, when the saved of earth shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called, where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth henceforth. Right there. I didn't know whether I should be more scared of the devil, the bombs, or of Jesus coming back. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I grew up to be a fundamentalist evangelist before I became an actor, so I come by that kind of natural. Oh, it's so wonderful to have all of you here tonight, and we have some really wonderful performers, and I can't wait for you to hear them, so I'm going to start right off by bringing up my good old buddy. This is a fellow I met playing charades about 35 years ago at somebody's house, and we became pals, and he and Marley and I have been friends for many, many years. They helped me get a lot of nice auditions and some really good jobs on television, and just some of the finest people you'll ever meet, and it gives me great pleasure to present Fred Rubin. All right, you need a stand?
I'm going to talk first.
Okay.
I'll move it down.
Oh, okay. You're set. It's very live, so I'm going to turn it down when I get up there. All right.
How the hell do you follow an act like that? And jittering her jaws back and forth in a scratching motion. Son of a bitch, Vernon. You got a flea in there. Big surprise, huh? Vernon said. Can you get him? Maxine was losing her patience. I'll try. She continued the jittery motion with her mouth until she saw the tiny flea leap out and hop away. It landed on the oriental rug. She heard it click, and then it hopped some more. I got him. Thanks. Maxine stretched again and walked across the living room, following a beam of sunlight that was streaming in through the window. She loved the sun, and people always remarked on that. On her way across the room, she picked up a piece of paper that had been crumpled and discarded on the floor. She dropped it, picked it up, then dropped it again. Bored, she kicked it away and walked into the kitchen. There was the food, but she wasn't hungry. She spotted her favorite chair, the one by the kitchen window. She took it for her own and gazed around the kitchen curiously. Yep, everything was still there. The sink, the counters, the dish, the drainer, her kitchen. She could hear Vernon back in the living room bellowing at something out the window. Vernon, what the fuck are you howling at? There was silence. Then Vernon's embarrassed reply, I don't know. There was a leaf or something out there, and it moved. So I barked at it. I mean, I'm not taking any chances. You know, a leaf moves and you never know what might come next. Could have been a bird. Hits the window every afternoon. I know, Vernon said drowsily, but it's always new to me. No matter how many times it happens, it always surprises me when it hits the window. It's like when you chase the ball, Maxine said sarcastically. I'll never understand how that keeps you so damn amused. Me either. I guess I'll always chase that ball, Vernon said. Unless you become president of the United States or something. They couldn't very well have the president running across a wet lawn, grabbing a ball in his teeth. Vernon looked at Maxine with sweet eyes of confusion. Surely she didn't think a dog could ever become president of the United States. He was about to ask her about that when his hairy ears picked up the distinct sounds of a Toyota Corolla pulling into the garage below the apartment. Vernon leapt up from his prone position and began to race back and forth across the carpet in erratic zigzag patterns. It's her, Maxine! She's here! Maxine blew lightly on her claws and hopped off the leather chair. So the fuck what? She hated it when he got excited like this. The damn woman came home every day at 4:45. She'd take off her shoes, hang up her coat, pat Vernon on the head, take a shit, and finally dish up some disgusting lumpy liver crap for Maxine and some dried kibble for Vernon. And for that, Vernon behaved like she were some goddamn queen. Now Vernon was leaping up and down on his rear paws. She's coming! As she passed out of the living room into the hallway, she looked back at the man and smiled to herself. She had been with the woman for 8 years. no man had lasted more than one. Thank you. I have two quick songs for you tonight. Long before there were superheroes in American culture, there were things called tall tales. And these were stories, folk stories about people like Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox, or Johnny Appleseed, or Pecos Bill, who was said to have lassoed a tornado with his lasso. And these tall tales gave way to musical versions called bragging songs about people that really couldn't exist, but in song they did. And this is a very old song that I learned when I was 8 years old. It was written by a man named James Stevens in 1928 and became a very popular song at one time. And it's in a waltz rhythm. So if any of you would care to waltz, please be my guest. As I sat down one evening, 'twas in a small cafe, freezing day. He held me in a fond embrace and broke 3 vertebrae. He kissed me when he parted, so hard that he broke my jaw, and I could not speak to tell him he forgot his mackinaw. I saw my logger lover trudging through the snow, going bravely homeward at 48 below. The weather tried to freeze him. It tried its level best at 100 degrees below zero. He buttoned up his vest. It froze clear down to China. It froze to the stars above at 1,000 degrees below zero. It froze my logger love. And so I lost my logger, and to this cafe I've come, and here I wait till someone stirs his coffee with his thumb. That heaven, prices up and the rain come down, hauled my crops on into town. I got the money, bought some clothes and food, fed the kids and raised a family. Well, the rain quit and the wind got high. Black old dust cloud filled the sky, and I swapped my farm for a Ford machine and I poured it full of this gasoline, and it started rocking and rolling towards that old Peach Bowl, California. I was way high up on a mountain road. I had a hot motor and a heavy load. I was going real fast. It wasn't even stopping, just bouncing up and down like popcorn popping. Had a breakdown. Sort of nervous bust down. Mechanic fella there charged me $13. Said it was engine trouble. Well, I was way high up on a mountain curve, way high up in the piney wood, and I give that rolling Ford a shove. I was going to coast as far as it could. Commenced to coasting. There was a hairpin turn. I didn't make it. Well, man alive, I'm telling you, the fiddles and the guitars really flew. Ford took off like a flying squirrel.
To my house one day, I opened the door, my brother and I, and there she stood walking by, and we got to talking, and she said she played guitar, and my brother had a beautiful guitar, and she came in, and we all sat down. My brother's a guitar player and singer too, and pretty soon we were just singing and picking and having a good old time in there. And I've known her ever since, and I've been to several of her concerts. She's a wonderful singer, a wonderful mother, I'm sure, and a wife and mother. And it gives me great pleasure to present Claire Holly, Silver Lake's own.
So how did you tell him you knew me? I didn't get to hear that.
I told him that you came walking by my door one day.
Trick or treating?
No, strolling with your baby.
Strolling with my baby. Yes. Thank you. Nice job, Fred. Nice job, Lee. Sister, pick some flowers for me. Sister, pick some flowers for me and put a crown upon my head. Put a crown upon my head. Oh, my wedding day. My daddy came and gave me away. My daddy came and gave me away. One little picture I have saved. One little picture I have saved of my wedding day. Of my wedding day. The parents did not love me there, and it's kind of a funny story, but at the time it was a very hard, trying time. But I was asked to sing at this preschool, and I was thinking, well, what can I sing for an audience of toddlers, 2, 3, and 4-year-olds who are going to be really honest. So they do a lot of cool things at Hilltop. They cook and they get muddy. They're not afraid to get really messy. And for me, parenting is about embracing those messes. So this is a song in that spirit called Love in a Bowl. A little bit of honey, a little bit of rain, a little bit of sugar is the name of my game. Put it all together and you got yourself a little bit of love in a bowl. So stir it up good, I need a little more salt, a little more soul. Your big blue eyes are breaking my heart again. Here comes the sun, shining through my window like a big bowl of love. Looking in my kitchen, I see what you're doing. You're sneaking and licking up my love in a bowl. So stir it up good, I need a little more salt, a little more soul. Your big blue eyes. I married a pharmaceutical rep named Jones Miller Chamblin, and they moved to Jackson. But she was determined for my dad to know the catechism. Does anybody know what that is here? Okay. Everybody needs a lady like this on the front row that smiles and laughs and nods. So, my dad actually passed away about 2.5 years ago, and his funeral was a very important moment for me, because all these students came up and said, you know, your dad went out for lunch with me, and he was really kind to me and listened to me and was such a great professor. And I knew these things, but at that moment I was like, I gotta live my life differently after this, knowing what I know. But one thing that came about is I started thinking about my dad as a little boy, you know, with this very strong-willed woman, Olivia, teaching him the catechism in the hot summer on the porch. And this song is called Heat of July. If God from dust did make a man, she would make one too, by damn. She was strong, you could smell that southern rain on a porch your daddy made. But how'd you keep yourself in place all those summer days? Did it feel like shoes too tight to be your mother's pride? On a porch screened in from flies, your quick mind made her smile. Sweat till you shine, sit till you get it right. Ooh, sweat till you shine, sit till you get it right. In the heat of July, in the heat of July, heat of July. And I've traveled far away like a reckless running train, bound nowhere, racing in the night. But now I'm gathered in the hands that form the meadowed land. I am resting in the bounty of the Lord. Yeah, I am resting in the bounty of the Lord. I can hear the people singing and a sound of tambourine in every member of my distant family. It's a place that I believe in, even though I've never seen it. I'm believing in the bounty of the Lord. Yeah, I'm believing in the bounty of the Lord.
This went time about. So he invited me to come on down there. I was doing a show called LA Times Bomb, about the bombing of the LA Times, and I wanted to practice some of my stuff about that. And I had gotten Mike, through the recommendation of B+, I had gotten Mike the Poet involved in the show. And so he invited me to come down, and sitting on the front row was this next fella. And he was right around my age, and he liked what I did, and I liked what he did. And then he started taking me around to the literally hundreds of poetry readings that go on in this town every night. If you want to go out and hear good poetry, good music, or good storytelling, you can do it any night of the week, 2 or 3 times a night if you want to here in Los Angeles. And I'm one of those guys that says, I love LA! Because I do. I love it here. I love my own neighborhood, and you can see why. So this guy's, while he lives out in Burbank, all right, there's a few Burbankians here. But I'm not going to hold that against him. Let's give a warm welcome to Peter Coca.
You know that, Lee, yeah. Me and the love of my life, Melissa, were living 12, 14 miles up the road. I wasn't going for it, though. I told Melissa they were just trying to discourage us from going. Now, about 8 or 9 miles up the road, me and Melissa jumped on the back of a Volkswagen bus they had let through. There was just enough room on the back bumper for the both of us. Now, I ain't never, ever seen Melissa ever do anything like that. I mean, jumping onto the back bumpers of Volkswagen buses was not Melissa. And this bus was covered with hippies, just like us, too tired to walk. And the streets were filled with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of young people looking like pilgrims headed for the promised land, where it was rumored that some awesome collective consciousness was about to take place. Now, we never even got close to where that bandstand was, where those bands were like colorful little blurs, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and mud was everywhere, and there were people playing in the mud having a good time. Everybody seemed to be having a good time. I couldn't figure it out. And then there were people smoking some of the outlawed weed right in front of the cops, and they were turning away and aiming at the TV. You're a phony, Falk. You hear me? You're a big phony. So is everybody in this movie. You're all phonies. Hell, everybody I knew was a phony, including me. We were all phonies living these phony-ass lives. I mean, when you first start seeing things clearly for the first time in your life, or what you think you're seeing clearly, and you ain't ready for it, well, it can be hell, man, nothing but hell. What I'm trying to say here is that I was not ready to close my eyes and float downstream. Not just yet. That was the worst night in my life. In fact, my mother totally wiped that night out of her life. I was not her son at that night. Well, anyways, Woodstock ended the 60s. But that fire burnt right into the early 70s along with the war. But now 60% of the country was against the war. 500,000 marched in Washington protesting the war. Another 125,000 in San Francisco. But the war still went on. And Nixon is elected again, beating McGovern in a landslide. They painted McGovern as a pansy. The guy was a World War II hero.
Taught himself how to read, didn't you, Peter, up there on that mountaintop? Anyway, Peter Coca, let's give him another big hand. All right, let's see. My next guest, where do I start? This woman's a really good storyteller. And just a great talker. I like her personality a lot, and I've enjoyed getting acquainted with her. She came to a show I did a few years ago when I was doing Lord Buckley, a Lord Buckley routine. Lord Buckley, if you know who he is, hipsters, flipsters, and finger-popping daddies, and all that. And this young woman is his daughter, Lori Buckley, and it gives me great pleasure to present her, and in her own right, a great storyteller.
They don't call me Story Buckley for nothing. It's so wonderful to be around artists and to have an audience, and everyone's so amazing and so talented, and it just thrills me. And I finally found my way here for the second time. Hey! So I have, of course, everything to say, but I'm going to sing a little tune, I love all the singing first, that's right, so cool. And I like an old Julie. Things that we can't do without all God's children. God swing. Oh, thank you so much. I learned to sing a cappella because I just didn't have time to mess with musicians. They're so cute, and I said, no, I got kids to raise. I had to figure it out. But I came from a family of tremendous love, and as I tell it, I was born a princess into a royal court that existed only amongst those who agreed that it was so. And that means at this very moment that all of you are lords and ladies, prince and princesses. The Duke was always the guy that had the money. And the crown prince from time to time. Well, Lord Buckley started out as Dick Buckley. He was from Tuolumne, California, a little mining town up by Sonora. And he said years ago that the only way a man can know what it is to have nothing, he must have nothing! He knew what it was to, be struggling. And he had 6 brothers and sisters and an amazing mother. She was a laundress, and his dad worked the mines. His dad came over in the great. Can you imagine being in a place sucking up dust for years? I mean, it was just horrible. But in the walkathons, you would, the old song was, grab your coat and get your hats, leave your worries on that doorstep. Oh, life can be so sweet on that sunny side of the street. Don't you hear that pitter-pat? Make a happy time with your step. Oh, life can be so sweet on that sunny side of the street. I used to walk in the shade with my blues on parade. Oh, but I'm not afraid. It's over, cross over. If I never had a cent, I'd be rich as Rockefeller. Gold dust on my feet on that sunny side of the street. Ba-do, 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 ba-bong. Oh, thank you so much. Well, Lord Buckley went from that to, of course, he had to go through the soldiers coming in, coming off the war, and they needed something to do to entertain, and Lord Buckley knew how to do it. And he did an act where we call it the 4-way bit, or he called it mass pantomimicism. He took 2 guys, a chick and a dude, and he put funny hats on the guys, and he'd say, when I tap you on the back, you will move your eyes, you'll move your lips, but you will say nothing. And then he sat behind them with a mic, and he played them like a piano. And he had them all doing Amos and Andy. Well, I don't know about that, how you doing today? Well, baby, I don't know. These people would be talking. He had them all speaking the black language, which I thought was so beautiful. And he toured with Ed Sullivan. Now, Ed Sullivan and Dad were very, very fast friends. And when I was born in 1949, they were going to call me Surprise. Oh, good, no. I said I would have been the moon unit of 1949. But as it was, he named me after my grandmothers, and which I became, well, they called me in school LSB, Lori Summer Buckley is caffeine free. I go, what does that mean? Well, Lord Buckley went through a transition. I think it had to do when he met my mom, because, you love those mom and dad stories getting together. And he began to create what he called the Royal Court. And I'm kind of calling it the Royal Court of Humanity. He believed that all ladies and gentlemen were lords and ladies. Because I think sometimes as a man grows up and a talent, comes into his own, he wanted to tell more stories that were meaningful to the people, pretending to be people. Seeing unkindness, talking. I said, I'm so glad, Congress is out. I said, these people need to go on vacation. I said, I can't believe the way they talk to Americans. I think you're working for us. You got a lifetime salary. Who voted that in? And it's the cruelty in which the lack of respect they have for people. Well, I think Lord Buckley saw this then, too, because he believed that all people were beautiful. He would open up his show and he said, would it embarrass you to tell you that I love you? And he goes, it does, doesn't it? And he began to translate Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, you get the bud when you don't need the bud, and began to provide not just a historical lesson in hip, because I didn't know, honestly. We smoked, or not we, Dad offered it to me when I was 8. But I was like, hey, I'm a princess of a royal court. I don't think I need to blow some weed. And we didn't even say weed. It wasn't even a language. But it was, and I didn't even know what it was until I was about 22 years old at an old World's Art Fair. And I was listening to some guy on these haystacks doing my dad's material and talking about Jonah and the whale. Well, Lord Buckley said that Jonah got his courage from the great green vine, and the Lord told him to roll of it and abscond of it and smoke it, and courage would return. Beautiful, because when I heard Robin, I knew that he knew who Lord Buckley was because I could hear the pentameter in his voice. And even though, a lot of people don't know how to deal with death, but I kind of figured it out myself. I said, life, death, rebirth, what would be a simple example to explain it all? And then I realized, Legos. Legos, you build something, you make it like it is, it eventually falls apart, and you just build it up again. And so these are the days, as hard as it may be, and as uncomfortable as we see people losing their minds, we must remember to love, stay cool, stay hip, stay beautiful. Thank you.
Today, Rob Sullivan.
Are you okay? Are you okay? I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay. As a matter of fact, I think things are going pretty darn well. As a matter of fact, I think things are going pretty darn well. Things are going pretty darn well, as a matter of fact. Yes, things are going pretty darn well, as a matter of fact. Yes, I think I'm okay. Yes, I think I'm okay. I mean, I think that I'm okay. Yeah, I think that I'm okay. But maybe just... What it was I had a collapse, a breakdown of the mental variety. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming all right. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming all right. I knew it there in Pete's, Lynbrook and Westwood, on a Monday, or was it a Tuesday afternoon? At the end of November 2013. A Monday or a Tuesday afternoon. I knew it was coming. Anyway, no matter, Monday or Tuesday, I knew it was coming. I could feel it. It was in the very air. It was in the very air of my guts. And it was trembling in the very air. And it was there quivering in the very heart of my guts. And it was trembling in the very air, and it was quivering there in the very heart of my guts. Something's wrong, I thought. Something's wrong, I thought. Something sure as shit is wrong, all right, I thought. Something sure as shit is wrong, all right, I thought. Like a strange stirring beneath my skin. Like a strange stirring, rippling beneath my skin. And I knew. Something was wrong. Some balloons and that quivering isolation at night, No wonder you go jittery boom in the night, all hushed up in your room, and the outside quivery goes fuck in the night. Yes, the outside goes quivery fuck in the night. See people out the window go walking up and down normal in the street. You can see people out the window go walking up and down normal in the street, on the way to normal type business that people do night and day. How can people be normal? How can people be quivery fuck normal as they go boom up and down the street? How can they do that? Here, from my view, in fourth floor like-down psych ward, it seems miraculous. It does, oh surely it does. From my view, from this view here, from where I stand now on the street, I cannot believe what the fuck happened. No, I cannot believe what the fuck happened. It still stuns me, roots me here, solid in terror. As I try to, are you okay? Are you okay? I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I think I'm okay. Yes, I think I am okay. Do you? Thanks a lot.
Going to town, Miss Lucy? Most of you will remember that age-old poetry in which lies the story of the Lamb and Little Mary. Remember that age-old poetry in which lies the story of the Lamb and Little Mary. And how frequently, as a rule, the Lamb and Little Mary were the attraction at school. It's not true. The facts of the story I bring to you. Little Mary had no lamb, had no lamb, had no lamb. I say little Mary had no lamb with a fleece as white as snow. You know it now, sing. Little Mary had no lamb, had no lamb, had no lamb. Little Mary had no lamb with a fleece as white as snow. So don't mind what you read about the Lamb and Little Mary in your school books as well as his story. She had no lamb was revealed quite recently by one who had studied the question thoroughly. She did have a lamb long time ago. No one ever explained how them parted, you know. It can't be denied, the truth of the story, friends, I won't hide. 'Cause little Mary she didn't have a lamb, I tell you. Now they say she found a wolf in her grandma's bed with a big sunbonnet tied up over his head. But you know and I know what she found in bed instead. Come on, how could Red Riding Hood have been so very good and still kept the wolf from the door? What? How could Red Riding Hood have been so very good and still kept the wolf from the door? Father and mother, you will recall, she didn't have none. So naturally, I wonder, where did all that money come from? I stopped to ask it, who filled her basket? The storybooks don't tell. Yeah. Well, they say she was the nicest of little girls, and her little head was just a mass of ringlets and Shirley Temple curls. But you know and I know what some your feet under the seat. I'm very happy to be here tonight. It's funny, the things that put you off your feed or make you feel not so great. Surprises me. I got some news today, as many people, as we all did. She was sometimes, I thought, in poor taste. Sometimes she just went a little bit too far, but she was funny as hell. And I think that she made you think, even the things that she said that you didn't like, made you think about. I'm very sorry that Joan Rivers died today. So try to die and go broke on the very same day, or listen to what I say to keep those shadows away. Plan to smile when you can, you'll live longer that way. You know it's very true. So what we ought to do is help good humor spread, 'cause the longer we live, the shorter we'll be dead. The longer we live, the shorter we'll be dead.
Jack Landrone. I know you enjoyed that. Jack will be here next Friday night, a week from Friday night at 8 o'clock. So come on down and enjoy that great show. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we need you here. Well, that's our show. Did you have a good time? Yay! Man, we got put through it, didn't we? Oh, man, that was fun. Thanks for coming. And I hope you come. We do this first Thursday of every month, and it's always like this. It's always good, and it's always a little bit different. And I want to thank all of you wonderful performers tonight. It was just great having all of you here. And I want to thank all of you for coming. Put it on your calendar for next month. And see, next month we won't be here. October? Cancel that. We're not doing this show anymore. There'll be no show in October. In November, we're coming back with a special show about Steinbeck. So be sure and come for that one. And then we'll move on and do more things. So come on back.